Welcome back, or welcome to another episode of the Real PLC. So, unlike anything else, this is a meeting that shouldn't be email. You actually want to be here. Yeah. And man, I'm telling you once again, and if you've listened, we don't have just anybody. We bring heavy hitters.
Only heavy hitters to the PLC, man. And we got a real heavy hitter.
This is going to be awesome today. So let's just look. Educator, educational leader, mentor, 30 plus years of educational service, Superintendent of Troup County Schools. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world and the millions watching at home, Dr. Brian Shumate. Welcome to the show.
All right. Thanks for coming. Thank you for having me.
I don't know how that goes in introductions. I was at the back to school kickoff, and
yeah,
you know, you had a pretty solid introduction there, so I had to try to bring the heat right there. So, Dr. Shumate, thank you for being here on the podcast today.
I appreciate y'all having me.
Oh yeah. So look, we're going to jump straight into it, and once again, just kind of a little background on the whole purpose of the podcast. Sadly, kind of like in today's society, people forget that we're human, and a lot of times, a lot of things are just cleared up in conversation, and we just wanted to put together a podcast where we can have human conversation, share our stories, because each one of us, you know, even here in this room, like we each have a unique story that makes us us, and we just want to present a platform where you can share your story, share your message, and really just speak not only to the students here at Callaway High School, but to the people of our community. Change comes through conversation, and, right. And that's kind of the goal that we have for this. So, once again, thank you for accepting our invite, and man, I'm excited. I know this is awesome.
We've been talking about this one for a while, man.
We have. So let's just jump straight into it. So, Dr. Shumate, let's go all the way back to childhood. What was childhood like for a young Dr. Shumate?
Oh gosh. So I'm the youngest of three boys, born in Louisville, Kentucky, 1965. So I'm 58 years old, and in the southwest part of Jefferson County. Louisville, the city of Louisville is in Metro Louisville. It's now the county and the city combined. It's about 850,000 people, something like that. It's a pretty good sized city. Louisville is to Kentucky like Atlanta is to Georgia. It's kind of the big city, and then you have all the rural surrounding parts. But it's on the north side of Kentucky, right next to Indiana. Okay. So the city, while Kentucky is technically in the south, it's not as southern as Georgia is, or especially LaGrange, Georgia. Yeah. It's a little more Midwestern. It's got a Midwestern flair with a southern flavor. Okay. Is the way I kind of say it. Okay. People like to think they're from the south, but there's lots of nuances to living there versus here. It's a large integrated school district. They merged the city and the county districts back in '75, and there was forced busing, desegregation, et cetera. So I grew up in an area of town, very blue collar. There's lots of industrial presence in Louisville. General Electric, all the GE appliances. There used to be International Harvester. Ford Motor Company has 2 auto plants there. Lots of chemical plants. Just a lot of manufacturing that goes on. So there's a lot of, where I grew up were a lot of factory workers. If there were dads in the house back then, a lot of mothers worked, some stayed home, whatever. I was fortunate. I had my parents we did live in a stable house, not a big house, not a great house, you know. Slept in bunk beds till I was 12 years old, and window air conditioners and stuff like that. Didn't have a lot, but we had everything we needed, you know. Spent a lot of time outdoors. Our mother put us out every day on the weekends during the summer. And you didn't get
go and do something.
Yep. You didn't walk in the house until the supper time most of the time. And being the youngest of three, my 2 brothers are 6 and 9 years older than me. So in many ways, I was kind of an only child. Didn't have that sibling interaction on a daily. They were around, but you know, they were much older than me. Yeah. So when I'm 6 years old, I had a 15-year-old brother. So I was raised around a lot of older influences, if you know what I'm saying. So meaning I grew up very quickly in many ways. So in the early 70s, you know, I'm listening to my oldest brother's music from the 60s and early 70s. And you may know what that was like. I do. And then my middle brother was kind of mid to late 70s when he graduated high school. And I watched all of his hair got longer, bell bottoms got bigger, everybody had mustaches, and then I came along in the late 70s and early 80s and graduated high school in 83. The world changed a little bit in the 80s. When Ronald Reagan got elected, everything got kind of conservative.
Yep.
Everybody's hair went from being down on their shoulders up to above their ears
Yep.
in a matter of a few years, actually.
Wow.
Preppy came in and all that stuff. So Prince and Michael Jackson took over, and from the rock scene of the 70s. So I'm kind of all over musically.
Right.
But I was always a pretty good athlete. Spent all of our time doing, I have to think back when I was a kid. I was a leader and probably didn't know it.
Yep.
I had a big backyard, about an acre, and we cut that grass with 2 push mowers, little 21-inch push mowers.
Ooh.
And so I spent a lot of time cutting grass.
Woo.
But we had a field where we could play, right?
Yeah.
So we had organized pickup baseball games, football games all the time. And I would call 8 or 10 of my friends in the neighborhood, and I could organize a football game on a Sunday afternoon, tackle football with no equipment. Even though
you're the original Sandlot.
Yeah,
yeah.
This went on
Getting
all,
after it.
I mean, I played organized youth
Yeah.
football, but then sometimes on Sundays we'd still play tackle football and then basketball. There were several of those around the neighborhood. So football, baseball, basketball were pretty much it. And I laugh. I said that the things that I'm really probably pretty good at in life, I did before age 12. All right? Seriously, that's like a lot of people.
Yeah.
Though. I didn't play golf or tennis
Yeah.
as a kid. I tried to play in my 20s, and I'm not very good, and never will be. I didn't have those skills that you learn at a very young age. I loved to play the guitar, but I did not play or even try to play till I was in my 20s, and I'm not very good. Things like the problem with football and wrestling, and I became a wrestler in high school.
Okay.
I played basketball up to about the 9th grade, and then they cut me from the freshman basketball team and said, "You're going to be on the wrestling team," and the rest is history. I was built more like a wrestler.
Oh, man.
And I became a
Voluntold.
heavyweight wrestler, then a 185 all through high school. I kept my weight down so I could wrestle 185. But what hard part about that stuff is you can't, when you're as an adult, I can't call my friends up and come over and wrestle.
Nah.
No.
At 58 years old, right? Even though I'm pretty good at it.
Hey, man, I got a ring in the
So-
backyard.
You might be feeling a different type of way that next morning.
Yeah, so I don't play football anymore, and I don't wrestle anymore. I can shoot pool because we had a little Sears pool table. So
yeah.
I grew up shooting pool. That was our one kind of toy in the house where I could have all my friends in the basement. And it was an unfinished basement with a cheap pool table, but we played a lot of pool as a young kid. So bicycles, being on bikes every day, riding, fixing bikes, all that stuff. I did all that. So I was fortunate to have a really good childhood, and wasn't spoiled at all. We played a lot of ball, went to school. The rules were the same all the time. There was consistency.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of kids don't have now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be rich. You don't have to have a lot of money. But if you got consistent parenting and a consistent house to go home to every night, whatever it is.
That's a game changer.
I lived in a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, small Cape Cod house.
Mm-hmm.
Upstairs is one of those little loft-like where you hit your head on the ceiling,
Right.
And that's all I knew.
Yeah.
And in the summertime, we would pull our mattresses off our bunk bed and go to the basement and sleep with a fan on us. We didn't know any better, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have central air
Gotcha.
and all that. So those are humble beginnings. Then I was a pretty good student. I thought I wanted to be an engineer. I went to the University of Louisville, and I was a good athlete in high school. A good high school athlete.
Right.
Not big enough, steps about 2 inches too short. A little bit, and it steps slow sometimes. But good, tough, hard-nosed high school football player and wrestler and all that. I did not play in college. I went on to. I had to pay my own way through school.
Gotcha.
So I got into the University of Louisville as an engineering student. I started off as a mechanical engineering major. And my dad was a draftsman, the old board drafting, like blueprints and all that. This is before CAD and electronics and computers. And so in the 50s, 60s, 70s, he was a draftsman. And my mother worked part-time here and there, but pretty much was at home most of the time. We didn't have a lot of money because of that. She chose not to work, and they chose for her not to work.
Yeah.
And, dinner was on the table every night at 5:30, that kind of stuff. But my dad was a draftsman, so I thought I wanted to be, and I was good at that stuff, drafting and math and science, and I went to University of Louisville Speed School of Engineering, and he lost his job right when I went to college, about 1984, and because they deregulated the air pollution control industry that he worked in after Reagan got elected. They started doing away with all these government contracts. Air pollution was a big deal in the 70s.
Yeah.
And they deregulated. They shut down American Air Filter in Louisville. He loses his job. He doesn't have a degree. He has a high school education, but very smart guy.
Yeah.
But that's just the era he grew up in. And he came to me one day. I'd been in college. I'd been in college for about a year and a half at that point. And my oldest brother had become a school teacher. He was a special ed teacher. And my dad was kind of disgruntled about engineering. He goes, "You sure you want to be an engineer?" I said, "Well, I thought I did. I'm in school."
Yeah.
He goes, "Why don't you be a teacher and a coach?" Because back then, being a teacher was very stable. Yeah. People didn't get laid off a whole lot. And the rest of the world was, going through a little bit of a recession, and people were losing jobs, and people couldn't get jobs. And why don't you be a teacher and coach? And I was a good athlete, and I hung around. I was still one of those guys that still hung around the program all the time.
Yeah.
And helping with freshman football and that kind of stuff while I was in college. And my wife now, we were dating. She had decided she was going to be an elementary teacher. And I thought 2 school teachers were rich.
Yeah.
We were getting kind of serious, dating, planning on getting, talk about being together and all that stuff. And we kind of made a pact that we were going to go to school, and I was going to be a math teacher. I transferred to arts and sciences and became a math major. Went over to the School of Education, started working on my education courses, and we kind of set our vision together. She became an elementary teacher, and literally I did think 2 school teachers were rich because all of my coaches in high school who had a wife that that taught, they did things. They went on vacations. They had a new car, and they looked like they lived a cool life, right?
Like, I want that.
Yeah. That was what we looked up to because we had a lot of good teachers in high school that we were close with, and she and I went to high school together.
Gotcha.
So we knew all the same people, a lot of similarities, grew up in the same part of town. So we both embarked on that. Both got out of college in 3.5 years, got married in December of '86, became substitute teachers and lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. And we still thought we were rich.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The thing I was able to do back then that a lot of people don't do now is I got out of college debt-free. I didn't even know what a student loan was.
Yeah, that's impossible. I feel like that's almost impossible today.
But tuition was cheaper. They didn't have all these big fancy buildings and student life centers and athletic facilities. Right. University of Louisville was a commuter school for the most part. People lived at home, and I lived at home the whole time. Okay. I worked 40 hours a week while I was going to school.
Where are you working?
At that time, I worked at UPS. I worked at Arby's. I worked at a hardware store primarily, and then I cut grass.
Okay.
I rode around with a lawnmower in the back of my car. My car smelled like gasoline. True story.
Gas and fresh cut grass, man.
I was still cutting grass when I was teaching and coaching, and when I was 25 to 26 years old. So we both get out, start teaching. We get our teaching contracts in the summer of '87. I started teaching at the same high school where I went.
Oh, man.
And became an Algebra 1 geometry teacher. She got a job at an elementary school. Eventually, we got a house, progressed through that. Yep. Not long, I was an assistant football coach and assistant wrestling coach. In about year 4, I was working on my master's to get, those rank changes for pay and all that. So was she. And some things happened in the football program, and the head coach got fired, and nobody would apply for the job. He was kind of blackballing the job because they were mad at the AD and the principal at the time. In Louisville, there's so many schools that are dense. Yeah. Back then, we had 24 schools that played 4A football in the same city.
Ooh.
So we never traveled anywhere. Like our games were 2 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles away at the most on Friday night. We were never on a bus very long. So bottom line is, he was the president. Anyway, the coach that got let go, it just got a little ugly, got a little funky that spring. Nobody applied for the job. I didn't think I was ready to be a head coach at 25 years old. And the principal and the AD and the district AD brought me into a meeting and said, "We'd like for you to take the head job for a year as an interim." I'm like, I think about it. I go home. I said, "Let me talk to my wife." I go home. We had a baby at that time. I told her. She says, "You do what you want to do," which is usually her answer. Which means I know you're going to do what you want to do anyway. Right? And I've drug her across the country twice, and she knows that I'm pretty motivated. I just like to make things better, and I've been a natural leader, I guess. If I think back all those years, I've been in leadership a lot, and starting with. So I came back the next day. I said, "If I'm going to take this job, it's going to be full permanent, not interim."
Yep.
And they said, "Deal." I immediately got on the phone and called 6 guys that I played high school football with, And we're all 25 years old coaching a bunch of 16, 17-year-olds. Unfortunately, we were the best-looking athletes on the field.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
We would run out on the field in front of the kids, and the coaches were impressive, man. But my kids, we weren't that good, but we did have a pretty. We were okay, but we started off 1-5 my first year in 1990. My wife's like, "How do you remember all this stuff? But you can't remember what we're supposed to go somewhere." I can remember every score, if you live it.
Right.
So
quick question.
Yeah.
So you said like you go back to work at the school that you graduated from.
yeah.
So I've had the opportunity like to teach at a school that I went to school at, and like I remember kind of how it felt, and like being like, oh yeah, like the pride. How did it feel to go back home and teach?
It was weird in a way because my teachers were now my colleagues.
That is a weird feeling.
It is.
And,
Very different.
But they were very proud of me, and they were glad that I came back. And anybody's honored when their kids that they taught come along and want to follow in their footsteps,
Right.
so to speak.
Yeah.
Right. What I did learn is back then they were smoking in the teachers' lounge, and I'd go in there and try to eat my sandwich or whatever, and it's full of smoke.
You learn all the secrets.
Oh, yeah.
You learned it all.
Well, we knew there was smoking lounge for
Yeah.
teachers, but when you had to go in there and watch your former high school English teacher, smoke like 4 cigarettes in about 10 minutes. Every English teacher I ever had smoked a lot. So, anyway, I took over for a lady that went out on medical, and they gave me her teaching schedule. And I started teaching calculus right away. I was 22. And then when she came back, we gave her schedule back because I was the only one that could teach calculus because I was close enough to it. So I got to teach, high-level courses right away. And then I ended up getting the calculus class back a couple of years later when she transferred and went to another school. But anyway, I became a head football coach at 25 years old, teaching math. And I got all my former friends, and we didn't know what we were doing. I could organize a practice, and I thought I knew how to game plan until you go out and get your rear end handed to you on a Friday night. We started the season off 1-5, and I had 10 seniors, and we got better. And we beat some people we shouldn't have beaten the last 4 games. I ended up 5-5. And honestly was kind of like a hero, like in the school, because they had gone 3-7 for several years before that. And, I learned a lot that first year. Mm-hmm. Second year, I came back with a bunch of young kids. We weren't as good. We were really young.
Yeah.
Played a bunch of freshmen, sophomores, went 2-8. Third year, I think we went 8-2 and made the playoffs.
What a turnaround.
And then the fourth year, I think it was 7-3 in regular season with another bunch of young kids. But that little stint right there, then the guy that took over, believe it or not, I became an assistant principal at 29 years old. I was only head football coach for 4 years. Whoa. And back then, Kentucky only had 4 classes. Now they have 6, just like a lot of states have continued to expand. Mm-hmm. But we were playing 4A football. We were at the top level,
right,
playing some pretty good people, and was able to, I always had 5-6 kids going both ways. Probably didn't have but 6 or 7, 8 football players total. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Guys that can play. Mm-hmm. And you fill in with everybody else and hope for the best. You work on your kicking game all the time because I learned the first year I didn't pay enough attention to the kicking game. And it beat us a couple of times. Ooh. And I learned the second year, that's just like I always joke. I said the best day of a new teacher's life is the first day of the second year. Yeah. You learn what you don't know. So that experience of being a head coach at a young age really taught me a lot. And then I became an assistant. I was also going to school. Yeah. I just work. I've always just worked. Yeah. I don't watch TV. I watch ball games every now and then, and I keep the news on, but I don't pay attention to it. I'm using it on my computer. Even now, I'm at night, I'm reading something or doing emails or something. But so just putting a lot of time in, went back, got my admin license, became an assistant principal at 29. I was at one school for 2 years. And this is a funny story, but I became the assistant principal at this other school that was really bad in football, all right? And it was embarrassing. We were the visiting team to my old school where I had been the head coach the previous year. The guy that took over from me was my offensive coordinator, and he was a good offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. They start racking up points, and I was a 3 yards in a cloud of dust kind of guy. I'm a defensive guy. Yeah. I like grinding out and winning 6-3, Mm-hmm. Greg's hanging 30 or 40 points. And here's what's bad. Western High School was my old team, right? And I'm on the other sideline acting like I'm cheering for this new team where I'm an AP, but I'm pulling for my old team. And they're smoking them too. Western's killing this school where I was. And all of a sudden, about middle of the fourth quarter, a fight breaks out in the middle of the field. And these kids are empty, both sidelines. I jump the fence, go onto the middle of the field, and I don't know the kids where I'm an AP. I've only been there a couple of them. I don't know them like that. Yeah. I'm pulling my old players off of the guys now.
Man.
Like, I know all those kids. They had to stop the game for about 30 minutes. And then they did a running clock because we were down. Shawnee was down by I don't know, whatever it was, 30 or 40 points.
Oh, my.
And we got out of there, and I had to keep peace. I had to go on the field to get my other team's kids off of our kids because I knew them all.
God.
And it was funny. But that's just good life lessons. Then I went on to a place called Southern High School where, if you're a football person, you know Phil Simms, that quarterbacked the New York Giants.
Yep.
And now is on TV. He went to high school at Southern in Louisville, and he came out of Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
And he went to Morehead State, which is a little small. It used to be 1AA. I guess they call it FBS now.
Yep.
School in Eastern Kentucky. Then he ended up with the Giants and became a Super Bowl champion. But nonetheless, Whitey Simms was his nickname. I go to that school to become an assistant principal for 5 years. Good programs. I learned a lot about running the school. And then I became a principal in 2001.
So what made you want to make the transition from classroom to admin? Because I know that's kind of something that, it's one of those, you had some people that they really love the classroom. Some people kind of gravitate towards the admin. But what was your kind of...
Or was it just a goal before going in?
Yeah.
I never have a goal like that. Like, nobody, if you'd asked me 20 years ago, are you going to be a superintendent? I'd say no. I'm just one of these people that work. I'm competitive.
Yeah.
And when I see if there's other people that trying to get those jobs, I'm like, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. I'm just one of those kids.
Yeah.
Like, I have confidence in myself.
Yep.
Like, and being around people in this business, I've always thought, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And I've had that epiphany many times. I didn't think I was ready to be a head football coach, but I figured it out.
Yeah.
So when people say I'm not ready, who is ready for anything? You don't know what you don't know.
Very true.
Ignorance is bliss sometimes, right?
Yes.
And if you got sometimes that's good to not know what you don't know, but have a good work ethic, stick your nose in there and keep going.
Yeah.
And then reflecting constantly, I got to get better. I want to learn more. I pick other coaches' brains in the wintertime at these coaches' conferences, or even we'd run into each other socially. And I listen a lot to these old guys that have been coaching football for 30 years, and they're drawing plays on the back of paper plates and napkins. And I learned more offense. This is kind of interesting. When you're scouting another team, and I was a defense coordinator when I was young, when I was a young assistant, you learn more offense by coaching defense because you're looking at all these other teams.
Yep.
And I'd break down every formation, every play, all the motion, all the stuff, and I would steal their plays. So one of my fortes, I used to do this. I would run somebody else's play against them and try to beat them with it.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Stop it.
I love it.
I'd put in a new play every now when I'd see something, and I'd run it against them, and they knew it. I was like, but that's how I learned how to become a more creative offensive coach is really coaching defense, and vice versa.
Yeah.
You watch tendencies, and that's what, we always used to scout tendencies. Back in the old days, gosh, we got out legal pads, and we charted every play.
Yep.
We watched a lot of film. And on Sundays, and that's also what I learned from coaching football is how to work.
Yep.
There is no weekend. Weekend is work. No. And, so people say, I can't wait, to rest on Saturday. Shoot, I'm going, man.
Like, what's rest?
And
so can I ask you, so if there would have been an opportunity, because you talked about growing up playing football, baseball, and basketball, had there been an opportunity to take over the basketball team or the baseball team, do you see yourself making that move?
Well, first of all, I didn't progress in basketball, and I didn't in baseball. I stopped playing baseball, I think, in the 10th grade. I was okay at it, but I wasn't as good as I was in football. Yeah. And then I became a wrestler, which I was pretty good at too, just naturally, physically better suited for those two sports.
Yeah.
Wrestling was always around. No, I wouldn't have, because I didn't have the confidence or skill set or desire really to be a head baseball coach or basketball. I enjoy watching basketball, and I know a little bit about it, but and I didn't play enough baseball, like at the highest levels, to really understand. I understand some strategy. I watch it, but I was a catcher. So you do catching.
You got to know the game.
Catching, you learn a lot because all these pitchers are different, and they got different styles, different junk they throw, and you got to learn how to move and where their slider, their curveball is going to come in, and that was. But anyway, fast forward, I became a principal in 01 at a really tough school in Louisville, Kentucky called Callaway High School. It was one of the lowest performing schools in the state of Kentucky. It was a job nobody wanted, and I made that school better in 6 years. Now, in the meantime, I started working on my doctorate in 1998 when I was an AP. I finished in 03 when I was a principal.
Okay.
That helped me. So I'm a believer in education. You guys, I'm a believer in higher education.
Yeah.
Continue pursuing degrees, certifications. I got a superintendent certification somewhere along the way. I have a lot of sayings or isms, they call them. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. People say, boy, you've been lucky. Yeah, I have been. I've been so fortunate in my life to be around good people that I've learned a lot from and had, like I told you earlier, I had stability. We didn't have a lot of money, but I had stability in my life.
Yeah.
Right.
And some expectations.
Yeah.
You will go to school, right?
Yes.
You will behave.
Yeah.
I had one brother that didn't play any sports, so you don't have to be a great athlete to please your parents.
Yeah.
That's a misnomer.
Yep.
But luck is when preparation meets opportunity. If you prepare yourself, you're going to have opportunities come your way, and you got to be ready to snatch them.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
It's like having money in the bank. If I got some money in the bank, cash, and I see a deal on a car, and I can buy it right today, I don't have to go to the bank and
Yep.
get a loan and slow everything up. I'm one of these guys, and when I ride down the road, see a for sale sign on a car in somebody's front yard, I stop and look at them.
Yep.
I like buying from individuals
Yep.
because I get a better deal that way.
Yep.
And be opportunistic with life. So every time that the degree, like a PhD, like I have, it gave me opportunities. Honestly, later, it didn't help me at the time. I got a little pay raise, I think.
Yeah.
But fast forward a couple of years, all of a sudden I got promoted to the district office, and then I became an assistant superintendent. So we start thinking about being a superintendent, having that doctor thing on your resume helps.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not required, but it helps.
It sets you apart.
Yeah, it puts you in a little different stratosphere as far as people go. So I've always encouraged my own 2 kids. We went on and had 2 kids. We have a daughter and a son who are now 34 and 30, and I have 3 grandkids, et cetera, et cetera. So life's been good. My wife's career kind of was parallel. She never was an administrator, but she came through the same school district. I'm going to fast forward real quick.
That's fine.
I became an assistant soup in 2012 in Louisville with a 100,000 student school district. 2014, we hit that magic number. In Kentucky, you can retire after 27 years. So we were both in our 27th year, and my youngest kid was a junior in college at Western Kentucky. My older child, who is a daughter, went to Georgia.
Okay.
That's partly how I ended up here, because I knew a little bit about Georgia. She decided to go to UGA. She toured all the SEC schools. She wanted to go down south. She wanted a big school, good academic reputation. She chose Georgia over all the rest of them. Now it just happened.
Smart.
And unfortunately, I didn't get out of in-state tuition. She had pretty good ACT scores. She could have gotten in-state tuition at several other SEC schools, but Georgia and Florida wouldn't give it to her. And she wanted to go to Georgia. So here we go. I'm paying $35,000 a year instead of $15,000 a year. Oh. So I finally just got finished. I finally just paid all that off a couple of years ago. But and I had 2 kids in college for a while.
Oof.
But anyway, I just got some, again, competitive, a little disgruntled. I want to be a superintendent, but I knew I wasn't going to do it in Kentucky. I need to leave.
Yeah.
If you want to we wanted to retire and leave and go ahead and do other things.
Yeah.
And Oregon came on the radar. Long story. I don't want to get into it right now, but it's a good story. It's a funny story. But
Go Ducks.
Coach Williams is a big Oregon fan. So
well, most people where I lived in Southern Oregon are Oregon State fans. They're Beaver fans. So I got gear from both of them. But, so I interviewed for 3 superintendent jobs, and I've gotten 2 of them. All right. Interviewing is a skill. Like you gotta develop your thing. What do you really believe in? Can you talk about it? Is it heartfelt?
Yep.
So I always tell these up and coming leaders, what's your deal? What is it? If you had to sell one thing, what would it be in front of an interview committee?
Yep.
And I always tell this concept of I'm a believer in this thing called a place for every kid. It's cliche in a way, but it's not. It's every kid finding their pathway inside of our schools. They need to find their thing with like-minded kids, caring adults, and things to look forward to after school during the weekends and during the summer.
Yeah.
But I interviewed at Salem, Oregon, which is the second largest district in the state of Oregon, behind Portland. Those are all up north. Portland, Salem, Eugene are up north part of Oregon, close to Washington State. I didn't get that job. That was my first one. I interviewed once, and I learned a lot by going to that interview for 90 minutes. I got back home. They called me up. They said, here's the advice I got from the consultant. You sound too much like a principal. I'd already been a principal.
Yeah.
They go, you need, and I'm listening. I'm like, okay, I'm getting coached, right? Mm-hmm. You have to have open mind. Mm-hmm. Don't get offended because people are telling you something. Mm-hmm. And they said, you sound too much like a principal. You need to sound more presidential, more like more superintendent-like, more presidential is the way she said it. I'm like, okay, I can put a suit on. I can hobnob with the legislators. Salem, Oregon is where the state capital is, so a lot of legislators. I can do all that. But really, my cup of tea is talking to kids and coaches and parents, you know what I mean? And so I didn't get the job. About a week later, they called me and said, we may have a better fit for you, Medford, Oregon. I'm like, where's Medford, Oregon? It's in the southern Oregon, down in the south. It's much different down there. It's a little more conservative. The city's about 80,000 people. The district is about the same size as Troup County, which is about 13,000 kids.
Gotcha.
I go out there and interview. I knew I had a shot because I could just feel it in the room with 7 board members. And the board chair walked me to my car, which is a good sign. And they called me the next day and said, they want you back out here on Monday. This was on a Tuesday. So I go home. I'm home on Wednesday. They call and said, we want you back on Monday to interview.
Now, is home still Kentucky?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So we didn't tell anybody we were gone either. I went out there by myself twice. I flew to Oregon 3 times in about 2 weeks, all right? It's a long haul on airplanes from Kentucky.
Jet setting right there.
Well, you got to do 3 flights, and not easy to get to Medford, Oregon. So I go back out there this time I take my wife with me, and I go back out there on a Monday, and I walk in the room, and it's at this old schoolhouse that turned into a community center. Like, there's a U-shaped deal, and they're eating breakfast, and it's 8 o'clock in the morning, right? And I got my suit on. I'm ready to go. I said, how long do we have? And they said, well, our next candidate's not coming in until 1:30. It's 8 in the morning. I said, I got 5.5 hours? They go, yeah, as long as you let us eat lunch.
What?
And I go, see, this is going to be very conversational.
Yeah.
We don't have too many questions. And they go, there's a whiteboard behind you if you need to use it. I'm like, game on, let's go.
Oh, they put you in your element.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So I wore them out, man. You talk them to their bobbleheads. They didn't know what was happening. But no, I'm kidding. They were good people. Lots of good conversation. And I left at about noon. I was there for about 4 hours, let them eat lunch. And then I get a call the next day, and I got the job. I was still in Oregon. And the board chair called me. We had to have a press conference. They call me. When they call you and say, don't leave town, that's a good sign.
Good.
That's a great sign.
So I had to change my flight, and I stayed around for another day. We had a press conference, and they announced me, and next thing I know, I'm moving to Oregon. I went out there for 5 years, had a good run, learned a lot. Talking about life-changing because, you go from Kentucky or Louisville to the West Coast, whole different way of life.
Completely different atmosphere.
Well, just culture,
yeah.
Lots of different things. Marijuana became legal when I was out there, so you got dispensaries on the corner.
Oh, man.
Like I'm like, really?
This would never fly.
Yeah.
This would never work.
Little kids are coming to school smelling like when they're during harvest time. During about early October, they harvest, and their parents would be out in these fields, and it's rank. It's like an oil that gets on their clothes, and they wash their clothes with their kids' clothes, and the kids they can't get it out.
Oh,
it's like a skunk smell almost. But anyway, I learned a lot out there. Had a good run. Had really good board members. They had lots of teacher union stuff out there. We had a lot of charter schools, different way of life. All the kids in high school go out to lunch every day for an hour. The whole campus empties. Yeah. The campus empties out.
Holy.
That is so cool.
And the kids come back?
Yeah.
I'm sitting here going, if that was me in high school.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. What are they going to get into for an hour during the middle of the day? And
more Chick-fil-A.
I was more scared of if I didn't come back to campus, what my coach would do.
North and South Medford are powerhouses in the state of Oregon at 6A. Like they're good, got some good sports. I mean, good track and field, pretty good football, pretty good baseball teams. Yeah. Kind of like here. It's just very competitive overall. Yeah. But anyway, I needed to get back closer to this side of the country. My dad died in 2018 in the summer, and my oldest brother, died 2 weeks later. So I lost my brother and my dad within 2 weeks.
God.
And my mom's now living alone and blah, blah, blah. So I was, to me, this is the East Coast compared to Oregon, right? Mm-hmm. So I heard about this job at a conference, and I started looking at it. And what I loved about Troup, I looked at the community. I looked at the location. You're close to Atlanta's airport.
Yep.
The size is really appealing. This is a good size district. We are the 25th largest school district in the state of Georgia. Do you know that?
I did not.
I did not know that.
Out of 181.
Wow.
So we're 12,200 kids, almost 12,300 now. And so the size, we're big enough to have a lot of resources, but small enough where I can get to know people and be close to the action. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I still like coming in schools and talking to guys like you or people. I have talked to teachers as much as I can and be around and be in the schools and be visible. Yep. It's hard to do when you have 150 schools. We had that many in Jefferson County.
Oh, my gosh.
So 20 schools is manageable.
Yeah.
I equate this is like a mid-major college football coaching job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know how some people find their niche?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, they'd rather coach at Troy their whole career or, a Georgia Southern, and that's their thing. Mm-hmm. They don't want to be in the SEC because they like the mid-major kind of vibe. That's me. Gotcha. I'm a mid-major superintendent. And well, I've figured that out. I've had opportunities. People ask me, why don't you go for a big district? Because I've been in a big district as an assistant superintendent. Yeah. And I don't want that. I know what that feels like. And it's you talking about a barge that's hard to change. This place I can make some change and have an influence and impact on people. So that's kind of a life story, but lots of lessons along the way. I appreciate being here. The board's been super good to me. And, Troup County is sitting on more assets than they realize. People like to fuss about things, complain. Well, you guys got it pretty good. We got lots of industry here. You got a lake. You're on I-85. You're 50 miles from Atlanta's airport. The weather's decent. I
was talking to students the other day. So I teach a government and civics class too, and I was talking to them. I was like, guys, I remember when the city of West Point was about to not exist anymore. Like when they shut the mill, so there used to be a mill down there that pretty much kept everything going. And when the mill closed, West Point dried up.
Yep. Right.
And when Kia came in,
totally
just
changed the game.
A breath of, literally life support to that. And then now you got Great Wolf and even what they're doing on the square. It's beautiful what Troup County's turned into. Wow.
It's people need to remember that. I want people here to be positive about the school district. We are doing good work. We got to get better. We know our test scores are below state averages, and we can get better. We're on the way to getting better.
Yeah,
we are.
We closed the gap on the state of Georgia last spring in 23 of 26 tested categories.
That's huge.
So let's say we're 7-8 percentage points behind the state in some area. Mm-hmm. We closed it to 3 or 4.
Yep.
If we keep on that trajectory, we will surpass the state here soon. And I think some of that's going to happen this spring. Yeah. So we're running the right offense. We have the right philosophy.
I love it. We're getting coach talk, man. I love it. I love it.
We're running the right offense.
Well, I use too many analogies.
No, I like it.
Those sports related, but that tends to fly here. They get it.
Look,
which makes me a pretty good fit. You know what I mean? I can talk. I love talking X's and O football if you want to. But now the game has changed so much. The stuff they're running now is not anything near what we were trying to run 30 years ago.
Look, I'm simple. I like when people keep it simple because that makes so much more sense to me. Yeah. You start talking way up, and I'm like, hold up, please simplify. So
go ahead.
I do have a question. So being the superintendent, you make tough decisions.
Right.
So one thing that I've always kind of been curious on is the thought process, because your decisions impact, the entire school system. So just talk, if you want to, can you talk us through a decision on say severe weather? So let's just say a day where possibility we have to get out, right. A day where maybe we delay, because I feel like people forget, we said at the beginning that we're human and you have to make decisions, take care of everybody. And like I said, as much as you want, if you're not, I'm cool with it. It's just kind of a thought I've had, I do not envy you.
Right.
When you have to make those decisions at all.
Well, there's times when you earn your money. All right.
Yeah.
And I go back to COVID. When COVID hit, believe it or not, it was this week 4 years ago.
Yes.
Right?
It was.
And, all eyes, and I don't get the opportunity, and I haven't. Like I said, I've always found myself for some reason in leadership positions. Usually, I don't get to run and hide and let somebody else make the decision.
No, you're up front.
I have to, every time something happens, it'd be easy for me to go, man, I just want to like crawl in a rock and let somebody else deal with it.
Yeah.
That's not what I get paid to do. That's not how I'm built anyway. Right. And I know that there's light always at the other end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
You know, however dark the day may seem, again, stick your nose in there, back to football.
Yep.
Grind at it, work at it, and try to be thoughtful. And sometimes I've had people tell me sometimes I can be very quick in making decisions because I just rely on a lot of experience. Plus, I'm anticipating a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I feel like you have to.
Yeah. You got to think about all the possibilities, permutations before you go into a situation, and you know the what ifs. Right. You play all that out. Not any different. Again, back to calling offense on a Friday night.
I was about to say that. I feel like that's like I'm sitting here
Strategy.
thinking like when you're coaching, like you're constantly. I mean, you're playing chess.
Right.
And so.
So let me go back to when COVID hit. I had to, all eyes in this county were on me.
Yeah.
What's the school system going to do, right? And all summer we tried to work to get ourselves back open. We did in the summer of 2020, but that just taught me, and it really drove home the fact that I don't get to hide. I got to be a leader. Even though I'm new, I'm not from here. Immediately because I'm in this position, I'm a natural leader in this community, right? Or people expect you to be, and I don't want to let them down. I think we started school in August of 2020, if you remember. Mask and social distancing and cleaning and all the stuff we did. We stayed open. Sometimes we went up to almost 40% of our kids being virtual. Yeah. People were doing the 10-day quarantine. I don't even know how we survived, but we did.
Custodians were out here. It
got better throughout the year. And then the following year, we thought we were out of the woods for a little while. And then all of a sudden, we had to put masks back on. Everybody lost their minds over that. I tried to follow CDC guidelines, and I don't get caught up in politics. Yeah. When it comes to all this stuff going on in this country about, conservative, liberal, I'm a middle of the road guy. Yep. Really am. I'm a centrist. Yep. I don't take sides like that. I try to do what I think is right for kids and people. I have a lot of people that depend on me. So back to weather. I've learned recently, and I kind of already knew, because most of the time, it depends on where you are. Yeah. You can have, there's different types of severe weather. If you know snow and ice is coming, and you can predict the temperature pretty well, you might call school off the night before. Yeah. All right. Now, that's where I was from in Louisville. Well, they got more snow and ice up there, and we always typically waited till the morning to make the call because you never know overnight what's going to happen. Yeah. They may call for 3 inches of snow in 28 degree weather, but it doesn't materialize. Yeah. Right. If I know for sure that that's going to happen, then I might go ahead and call the night before. Right. When it comes to wind. If they know for sure, if I hear that there's going to be tornadic winds overnight or early hours in the morning, then I'll call it off. Yeah. But if it's uncertain, depends on when they use the word tornadic wind, that's bad. Yeah. That's when they use wind gusts of up to 50 miles an hour. The problem is our buses aren't supposed to sustain a 40-mile sustained wind, right? Yeah. 40-mile-an-hour sustained wind, and so a lot of it has to do with just driving a bus during severe weather. Yeah. So it just depends. If they say it's going to be bad thunderstorms overnight, it's going to be 20, 30-mile-an-hour gusts, I'm not going to close school. We can't close school every time we have a thunderstorm. Yeah. Right. And now during the day, it's different. If we get to school at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden they're calling for this big thing to come through like we got into last spring. Yeah. That was unpredicted. Yeah. We were told all day long that we were going to be okay. And this is going to go north. And it changed. And then we got the elementary kids home at about 2:30, and it was right before 3 o'clock. I got a phone call that said there's a tornado in Alabama. And now we had already loaded up some special ed buses and think buses. And about 3:10, I made the decision. I called all the high school principals and said, hold all the kids back at school. So go in the hallways, do your normal severe weather procedures. They did. We had a few buses out on the road that we were able to strategically place in the county. They were moving the buses around the county based on the movement of the tornado. And it came right behind Troup High School, went over Lafayette Christian, tore up some stuff there at that intersection of Davis Road. And then, of course, it went on up. Now, there was two of them. One went through the West Point area, and or West Point Road. Yeah. And which you can still see that damage there. Yeah, that was sketchy. Yeah. And the problem is we're not getting good. One of the problems I see is we get these weather forecasts 5-6 days out.
It changes so quick.
And it's these models they use now, and it's not real. It's not, they were calling for 5 inches of rain early in the week, and we got maybe an inch.
Yeah.
Just that kind of stuff. They're calling for maybe up to 5 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Who knows what'll happen? But the flooding here is not too bad because we have a lot of waterways that lead to the lake, and we may have some outlying rural places where there might be a little water over the road, but we can work around some of that. Yeah. So it's not. I don't worry about floods. High winds bother us if I know they're coming. But in the case of a tornado, the safest place for our kid to be is inside of a school building. Yeah. Right.
Oh, no doubt.
Because the little houses, some of them are going. Kids are going on to them. We got mobile home parks. Yeah. Aren't as safe as a school building. So if I'm going to release them, but sometimes we're going to hold them back, which we did last year. Yeah. Got lucky. Yeah. That it did not hit the back of Troup High School. I had people inside of Troup Colony right when that thing went over, and so normally I would like to wait till early hours in the morning. Yeah. But that messes up people with daycare, and because my goal is not to cancel school. Right. We get paid by the taxpayers to have school, and if we start missing too many days, I got to extend the school year. Yeah. And have makeup days, which nobody will like. No. And so
it's a double-edged sword.
Even if we can get in school and release early, a couple hours early, we could have a delayed start. Yep. So if they say this last time we had the temperature was going to drop at 7:30 in the morning down to below 32. But we had a lot of rain. Remember? Mm-hmm. Yep. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm up with my team. We have a team. Yeah. That gets up at 4. We sometimes go out and drive the roads if we have to.
I've always wanted. So I'm not gonna.
Want to be on the team? No. Where do you live?
How do I respectfully say? Well,
I'll put you on the team.
I don't live in county. Yeah. So, right.
But so I will put you on the team. You give me your cell number. I got you. So we have people that go out.
How do you? Can you say no to?
Not now.
No, but in all honesty, I've always been kind of curious on that of just the behind the scenes, because like I said, I'm not envious at all. Mm-hmm.
So we have our communications person, Arisha, who does all the send-its and social media. She's ready to go. So my goal, what I've been saying to everybody, by 5:15 a.m. you're going to know something. Yeah. So the last time we had the rain and the temperature was supposed to drop, we're up at 4. I'm looking at all the models on my phone and on my computer, and at that time it was 40 degrees outside. Yeah. All right. Not dropping yet. Mm-mm. About 5 a.m. it dropped a little bit. It came on down. By 7:30 it did drop to 32. But we're not going to have a flash freeze because the day before it had been 61 degrees. Yeah. Yeah. And the ground is too warm. Yep. And then they said it was going to warm right back up. Yeah. So the temperature did drop down into the 20s between 7:30 and about 9 a.m. And then it came right on back
But the
up.
Ground didn't. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we had rain, and people was like, "Oh my God, the buses are going to slide out the road." No, they're not. So yeah, that was a little bit. But I wanted to keep them in school and let's go. Yeah. And there was nothing to tell me that it was going to be crazy ice, black ice, none of that. I've lived through that. If I thought that was the case, we would have canceled school. Yeah. So we're on the phone with National Weather Service. The Troup County has an emergency management group. Okay. Zach Steele and that group. We're on the phone with them anytime there's something going on. Yeah. So there's a lot of research that goes on before we even go home at night. And then we watch these, you can watch the National Weather Service out of Peachtree City. So at 4 in the morning, I had our safety coordinator, our transportation people were out. Yeah. Me, Arisha, the communications person, and maybe 1 or 2 others. We scheduled a phone call at 5 a.m. Okay. I do a conference call with all of them from home. Jeez. Literally, I get up.
Getting after it.
Go way down in the basement so I'm not waking my wife up, and I'm down there. What do you think? I go through one at a time. Tell me. What's your opinion? They're all like, let's go to school. Yeah. Let's go to school. That was that particular morning. Yeah. Arisha posted at 5:15, and everybody goes to school. Yeah. All I said the night before was we would monitor the situation overnight. It wasn't, we try not to.
It's not a cancellation.
It's more about people getting used to, hey, back in my day, we never knew anything until you got up in the morning and turned the TV on.
Yes.
Yeah. And then went around the
Channel 2, man. I'd watch Channel 2 and watch the ticker at the bottom looking for it.
we didn't have Send It and all that stuff.
No.
And that's the way I grew up. Hardly ever did they cancel school the night before unless there was already a bunch of snow on the ground. Yeah. And they were expecting more overnight, whatever. So, but those are not decisions that are easy, no. And you're pardon my expression, damned if you do, damned if you don't sometimes. And that's the price of leadership. Right? I can't sit and whine about that. It's what I get paid to do. I do it with student safety in mind, number one, staff safety in mind. And then I have a responsibility to use the money that you all are all paid. We're all paid to do what's right for these kids, right? And having school is the best place for them to be. They get 2 meals a day. They get safety, security. They get taught something. And you know, when they're home all day, sometimes, you know, it puts parents in a huge bind. With work schedules. I get texts sometimes from some of our local employers because if we shut down, they got to shut down because the people can't come to work.
Wow.
So when I make that decision, it affects the whole county.
Jeez. I always, I guess because the ignorance is bliss. I just think about from the school perspective. I didn't even think about from the county perspective, but I am sitting here remembering one of the last times I saw, I don't even remember what school it is. It's like a Christian school here, and they're like, we follow the policy of Troup County School System, and I was just like, wait, what? But now that you say it, I'm like, oh, that makes so much more sense.
They think that we have the staff and to research it. The little schools don't have that sometimes, and they follow our lead.
Gotcha.
And they also don't want to be the ones that go to school when the big school district doesn't go. But that's okay. So that's responsibility that I didn't even sign up for.
Oh,
right?
Man.
Whatever I do affects Lafayette Christian and LaGrange Academy and all those people most of the time. They can still do what they want to do. I have no say in what they do. But how we go, sometimes it puts them in a situation where they got to make a similar decision.
That just sounds like a 2-minute drill for me, man. That's what I'm sitting here listening to you talk about, waking up at 4 o'clock, making this decision. Like, y'all have to be locked in.
You can't. You have a hard time sleeping. And I remember being up at 3, looking at my phone, and I tried to go back to sleep. And I set my alarm for 4. I got up, and then I just went out in the street and stood around and looked at it. I'm like, it's not that cold out here. And barely.
I know cold.
It was barely raining, and it was. And I'm like, okay, but is it really going to get cold enough for it to flash freeze? That was our worry, and that was just an example. So I hate to say it, it just depends. We do have a team that's ready to make decisions. There are times when I schedule, like, you know, I've canceled school at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon with pending tornadic winds overnight, bad storms. And those, when they say 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts, that's a hard one. Because I can't put buses on the road knowing that they can.
And how many people know that about the buses? You know,
that's not general common knowledge.
It's not common knowledge.
They could be tipped over by wind. Because they got a lot of surface area.
Well, I mean, you think about it, how many times you've been driving your car and feel the wind hit your car and shift your car real quick.
And buses, as big as they are, they're light.
You
know, they're not like a semi truck.
No.
When even those can be turned over, but so that's some of the decisions. And you know, I don't back up from that. And I've been doing this for 37 years, and I've been a leader. I've been an administrator for 30 years. You know, so you got I have a lot of scars on me, a lot of experience. And you know what? I still enjoy what I do. I'm not worn out and tired and you know, negative about kids or society. It's life, man. And you got to learn to roll with it.
Heck
and the kids are much different. The stuff I've seen in 37 years, I mean, I'm talking about when I started teaching, I had a metal desk, an overhead projector, and a little locker to hang my coat in. I had nothing. There was no Promethean boards. I didn't have a telephone in the room. We didn't have an intercom button. If you had a problem with a kid, you stepped out to the hallway and tried to get somebody to run to the office to get the assistant principal. We didn't have security guards. We didn't have radios, walkie-talkies.
Wow.
We didn't have. So when I became an AP, we finally got walkie-talkies. They looked like MASH radios. Big old metal radio hanging on my belt. And this was about 1995. We were the first school to get them. Didn't have security cameras. We didn't have all kinds of things that are just everybody's gotten used to. Buzzer systems and your front doors open all day. And you know, it's a different world. So I watched the evolution of technology and security. Honestly, we didn't get internet and email until about 2000, 2001, somewhere in there. And you know, big old. Then we started getting desktop computers in the early 2000s, and then here came whatever next. I don't know. Cameras came next. And now we have these badges around our necks, and
you push a button a few times. And,
you know, so I've watched that evolution. I've watched the evolution of families. But a lot of what goes on today was going on 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I had lots of gang issues back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And kids getting into stuff, and, people think the kids these days are all that bad. Kids these days are no different than they've ever been. It's the adults.
I feel like that kids these days is like the common phrase that's just used over time.
It's recycled.
What I have seen, though, is there's a lot of adult expectations that have changed for kids.
Yes.
Parents and staff and whatever else.
I agree.
And I still think that kids want structure or discipline and expectations and all those things. And I try to operate that way.
Yeah.
So
I was sitting here thinking, and because you put me on the spot, do you want to be on the team? I'll say this. Even though I live in another county, I really do. I can prove it. If you were to need me,
all right.
I'm here if you need me. I can give you.
He's trying to weasel out.
That way, whenever people listen, they can be like, "He didn't give him an answer." Yes, I did. If you need me, I'm here.
You're very, very convincing.
Right.
Although you give me a call at 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
I can't promise the wife will be happy, but hey, I'll do my best. So let's I got a question for you. So going back to like your time in school, was there like a certain person, teacher, coach that like you look at and you go, if I'd never come in contact with that person, I don't know if I am who I am today?
That's a good one. Yeah. I had all the coaches, football coaches, wrestling coaches, good guys, that were influential in many ways. But I always had a little different gear. Mm-hmm. And I remember one time I was in the 9th grade, and I was a big kid. I grew really fast, and I was the same size in the 9th grade as I was when I was a senior in high school.
Gotcha.
And I stayed that same height I am right now, 5'11" and a half. I used to be about 200 pounds. I've put on a couple since then. But all through high school, I hovered around 200, 195. I'd go down to 185 to wrestle, back up to 205 to play football or whatever. And, I was a big kid. And this lady, and I was pretty good. Mm-hmm. I mean, as a young kid playing ball. I started varsity as a 9th grader, playing nose guard, defensive line. And I'm not saying I wasn't that, it was all, you get awards along the way, all district, all county, those kind of things. But not college scholarships beating down my door. But I probably was feeling myself a little bit as a 14-year-old. Mm-hmm. When this freshman English teacher, I can name her name, she said, you're nothing but a big dumb jock. She said that to me one day. And because I was probably acting like one, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. I thought I was cool. I, wasn't listening. I was being smart aleck to her probably, talking to the other kids in class and acting like a jerk, right? God. And she said, sit down, you're acting like a big dumb jock. And I was like, man, that hurt my feelings. Ooh. That lit a fire under me.
That cut.
Well, because I was smart enough to do the work, but I wasn't doing it.
You weren't acting.
I was making C's in freshman classes, and I should have been making A's, right? Mm. So I started doing better. I never forgot that. So fast forward about sophomore year, I'm taking geometry from this guy named Wilbur McCoy. And Mr. McCoy's wife was a teacher. They never had any kids. That's why they had money. She was a math teacher at the neighboring high school, and he was he taught calculus at our school plus geometry. Mr. McCoy drove a Cadillac, and I thought he was rich. But he was always well-dressed and well put together, and he always talked about the trips they were going to go on this summer and 2 school teachers. He didn't coach or anything. He just taught. But he also did taxes on the side. He had a tax business. So, and he always seemed to have money, and he lived in one of the nicest neighborhoods in the south end of Louisville where I grew up. And his name, Wilbur McCoy. So he kind of inspired me to like, okay, you can be better than you are. Like, I could be a good athlete and a good student, right? And get over yourself, And my dad, I had a little bit of pressure at home, so I finally started getting it together. And junior year, I took Algebra 2 and trigonometry at the same time, so that I could take calculus my senior year. To be in Mr. McCoy's calculus class was prestigious. That's where all the smart kids were. Oh. And I didn't want to be left out. I was competitive, right? So I go, and I was pretty good at math, just naturally. And so I took 2 math classes my junior year because you had to take Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, Trig, which is now pre-calculus, and calculus. 5 math classes in 4 years. You got to double up somewhere. We weren't allowed to take algebra 1 in 8th grade and all that back then.
Yeah.
So I doubled up and I did better. My grades weren't great. I took chemistry. I got assigned to a anatomy and physiology class. I went down to the counselor and said, I want to get in chemistry. Because I looked inside the chemistry class, and that's where the smart kids were. I didn't want to be, and nothing wrong with anatomy and physiology, but it was not the highest course I could take.
How much was your freshman teacher big dumb jock playing in your head?
It did. And Wilbur taught us about money and life and how to buy cars. He was very savvy with his money. And he loved to negotiate on cars. He used to buy other cars. He bought cars for other teachers in the building. He would go with them when they were negotiating at a car lot.
Wow.
And Wilbur was no joke, and very smart man. And so I got in his calculus class my senior year, and there was about 20 kids in there. And again, competition. I looked around, I'm like, there's nobody, I can do this. And I liked him, man. I hung on every word. Yeah. I took every note. I made an A in his course. I passed all his tests. And then I started cutting his grass. I was a lawn boy back then. And he said something about cutting grass one day. I said, I cut grass. He goes, you want to? And I went over to his house and started cutting grass. Pretty soon I'm in his kitchen eating lunch with him and his wife as a senior in high school.
Yo.
And he had a lot of influence on me because I just listened to him a lot and learned a lot from him. So bottom line is he taught me the business side of life. He made us learn how to do the amortization formula. Like when you do a monthly payment, you go out and buy a car or a house, and the bank says this is what you're going to have to pay every month, principal and interest. Do you remember that? Yeah. Well, it's not a simple formula. We had to do that by hand. He taught us that in calculus. Every calculus test, he would have a bonus question of some banking or finance thing, had nothing to do with calculus. But he wanted us to learn about banking, and we learned all kinds of things about compound interest and how to buy insurance, how to negotiate this, that, and the other, how to buy houses. And man, I took all that in, and so he was a great influence and probably had the most influence on me becoming a teacher.
That's awesome.
I wanted to be him. And guess what? Fast forward not that long, 6, 7, 8 years, I ended up teaching calculus in his classroom with my old high school notebook. I follow Wilbur's offense.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So I kept my high school calculus, and I have a math degree, so I went Calc 1, 2, 3, linear algebra, analysis, modern algebra, all those college courses.
So you're talking way over my head.
No, but those are hard courses, but the foundation I got from him gave me that, and I understood basics of math. I really understood calculus. It's not, you can do the procedures and the techniques of calculus, but you really understand what's going on. It helps you later. And that's because if you really like somebody personally and you respect them, you're going to listen to them.
Yep.
Yes.
I never daydreamed in his class.
Yep.
Because I knew something was going to come out that was right. He knew it. He liked me because I liked to work.
Yeah.
And I did his leaves in the fall. I did his, I watched his house when they would go on vacation in the summer. He gave me keys to his house when I was in college. So I became his caretaker, and they had a beautiful house, like something I only dreamed about living in. And so, anyway, there's the Will McCoy story. I still give him, I give him cred, a lot.
Holy cow, man. That's crazy.
So the fact that you're a kid and you're understanding the magnitude of what's going on as it's happening.
Yeah.
To stick on to him and understand that he's giving you some great advice and great tools.
I was fortunate. When people say I'm an old soul, I was an old soul all through my life. I was 10, but I acted like I was 15. I was 15, acted like I was 20. Yeah. I did a lot of things very young.
Gotcha. Because
I had older brothers.
Yeah.
So things that they were exposed to, I'm 6, 7, 8 years old, taking it all in. Yeah. So I had a little perspective.
Yeah.
And I was forced to do a lot of things. My parents didn't baby us. We just had to. You wanted to make something happen, you had to do it yourself.
Go do it.
Yeah.
Kind of that pride and ownership situation. Like if you want it, go get it.
My dad instilled confidence in me and not being afraid of the world. Yeah. Go if you want to do it, go for it. Yep. And I bought cars when I was 16, 17 years old, sold them, negotiated, figured stuff out.
Man. Dude, that's awesome.
I mean, cheap little old cars, but I bought and sold a lot.
I was trading my Matchbox cars.
I used to trade cars so many times. The people at the courthouse knew me.
Here he comes with another one.
I have owned about 50 cars in my life.
Wow.
And I like cars.
What's the nicest car that you've owned?
Oh, God.
Like your favorite?
Oh, favorite? That's hard because I never get married to them like that. Like, they're just.
What's the one that sticks out to you?
I got a 2017 Mustang GT that with 5-liter that I bought brand new. That's sitting in a garage up in Louisville right now, and I did a bunch of stuff to it. I lowered it, put Roush lowering springs, Roush exhaust. It's all blacked out. Put 20-inch offsets on it. It's cool. But
oh man,
and it's got about 12,000 miles on it, so it's 6 years old.
Ooh.
But I bought it when I was in Oregon, and then moved here. And then once I moved, I didn't have another garage. I took it back up there and it's been in my brother's garage. Oh, I drive it about 3 times a year. He drives it every now and then. Now, I've had some cool older cars. I've had Mustang GTs, probably 5 of them, convertibles. I sold an 81 Corvette about a year ago. I had it here, T-top, 2-tone.
Oh, man.
4-speed. The Mustang's a 6-speed. I've had Audis, BMW, Mercedes, Volkswagens, every Toyota, every kind of Japanese car you can imagine. Every Nissan Sentra, Stanza, Maxima, Toyota, 4Runner, Sequoia.
Oh my!
I've had old Fords. I like old Fords. I had a 65 Thunderbird that I sold. I usually try to buy and sell one car at a time, like old ones.
Yeah.
What was your first car?
A Fiat X19, a little bitty 2-seater. I had it when I was 16, and it had a removable hardtop. It was yellow.
Oh my!
4-speed. It was a mid-engine, so the engine sat right behind you.
Man.
And here I am, two seats tiny, and I was about 200 pounds driving that thing. But probably the coolest car I ever had was a Triumph TR6. It's a British car. What? It's a British kind of a 2-seater sports car, convertible, inline 6-cylinder with a 4-speed. That was a cool car. 15-inch rims, red lines.
You love cars.
Oh, I do.
It's
like having the Barrett Jackson auto auction right here.
I went to Barrett Jackson last year.
No.
2 years ago, maybe it might have been 2 years ago. It was in January. It was in Scottsdale, Arizona.
You were in like heaven.
Yeah. No, I got friends that like cars, and you can bounce around. And now I don't have a lot right now. I have the Mustang, my wife's car, my car, and I have an old Expedition that I've had forever. But I used to buy and sell. I go through phases. If I have room, you got to have room for them.
Oh yeah.
And I like to, I don't rebuild them. I'll tinker with them and then get them really clean and nice and detail them and all that. Show them every now and then. I have a few of them that I could show that were nice. But and then I get tired of them and I put them up for sale. Put them on Craigslist or Classic Car Trader online. I got an account, I bought and sold 3-4 cars since I've been here.
Oh my Lord!
But
do you have
that's a hobby?
Yeah.
And I try to make money on them. I got that Wilbur in my mind, man. I don't make bad deals. I try to never lose money I've never lost money on a house, and never, cars. If you buy them new, you're going to lose money.
Yeah. But
on an old car, I try to at least break even or make a little bit on it.
Do you have like that dream car?
Oh yeah. You know what resto mods are? You don't know. You're not car guys.
No.
Yeah, I have some. 63.5 Galaxy, 427 R code. It was a race car back in the day, built in the 60s. I like those old 60s cars that there was a lot of history behind the manufacturers and racing and NASCAR and all that stuff. That's a car that I had a 63 Galaxy, but it wasn't a 63.5 fastback. Okay. 427 R code, like aluminum. Fiberglass front end on them and all that stuff. They use them for racing. Jeez. And those cars now are worth who knows, $1 million.
Oh my!
But if I win the lottery, I might buy one of those. There's a few of them around still, but the stuff that goes into car racing is fun. Anyway, that's a hobby. Yeah. I love college football. I still watch it. Yeah. I haven't coached. I coached Little League when I was a principal, but I haven't coached football in a long time. That game has passed me by. I know that. I can see what's going on most of the time, but the complexities of the offenses and defenses I've seen now, even here on a Friday night. Yeah.
Do you get out and watch on?
Yeah, so I get tugged on a lot.
I was about to say, I know you got it. You got a busy
my one
schedule,
night a
so-
week that I actually relax is like Friday night. Like I hate because I was a principal. I was at ball games every Friday night of my life, and
Yep.
so when I finally got to the district office, I didn't have to do it anymore.
Yep.
Once my kids were out of high school, I enjoy that's the time. I don't mind going to ball games on a Saturday. Thursdays are not too bad, but high school football I've been around a lot in my life, and I don't live vicariously through all that anymore. I don't pretend to be a coach or want to be a coach anymore. I appreciate what our coaches do here, all of our sports coaches, and I love Troup County's athletics.
Yeah.
We have competitive athletics all over the place. I read newspaper. I wake up every morning and look at the LaGrange Daily News and read the sports page, and I saw that Troup's won 4 in a row and Callaway's won 7 in a row in baseball. Right?
Yeah, we're on a little bit of a run.
I keep up with all that. I keep up with all that. I think our programs are basketball teams. Callaway's had a lot of success this year.
Yeah.
And I probably keep up more than people know. But am I always out there shaking hands at the end of the game? No, I just kind of lay low and just stay out of the way of all that.
Yeah.
But I'm supportive of it.
Yeah.
And I get it. I love sports. I think that kids because there's so much sacrifice that goes in when you play a varsity sport.
No doubt.
And it's pretty much year round now. And it's the best thing these kids can do is to work hard for a team, or an individual sport.
Yeah.
That's the difference between football and wrestling. Wrestling is an individual sport. It's just man. You go out in the middle of that mat.
There ain't no one to save you.
That's when you better be competitive.
Yep.
And you don't want to walk off that mat not having raised your hand, right? And
No doubt.
that's embarrassing, but it's part of competing. You got to learn to lose too.
Yep.
And losing is part of the deal.
You can learn a lot from a loss.
Yes.
You can learn a lot from a loss.
Yeah.
But I don't like it.
It's not fun,
But
but in the big picture, big scheme of things, I don't worry about it. But I appreciate the amount of effort that goes into sports here. Just as long as it's not driving everything we do, we got to get better academically.
Yep.
And push kids to. And I see apathy sometimes that bugs me.
Oof.
I just want you to, I want kids to grind a little bit and be tough. That's why I try to raise mine.
Yeah.
Now I didn't do a perfect job. They're good people. They both got advanced degrees now. Who am I to? They've done great. But there were times when I, got to bring it a little bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So so I coach softball as well, and in the parent meetings, I always say we worry about your kid in this order: person, student, athlete. If we can make them a good person, they're going to be a good student. If they can be a good student, they might just be an average athlete. But dadgummit, you're going to get a good person and a good student out of the deal.
Most definitely.
And you keep that order, it's going to pay off. It does. And it's so when you said that about pushing the academic side of things, you're called a student athlete for a reason. Student comes first for a reason.
Yeah. Yourself coaching.
Yep.
The best athletes are usually pretty smart.
Yep.
You got to have you got to have good judgment. You have to think quickly. Shoot, in football, so much stuff's happening so fast.
Wow. Yes.
And if you're not quick on your feet and analyzing situations, I've had kids that were really good in the weight room and they look really good in a uniform.
And that's about it.
And then when the lights come on,
What happened to that kid?
Yep.
I'm watching film where is he?
Yep.
He's in La La Land, right?
Oh.
And then you got other kids. I had a kid one time named Dennis Newton. I coached him in football. I was his defensive line coach when I was an assistant coach. He was funny. Dennis had a dip in his mouth all the time. This is 1989 or something like that. Dennis had a little belly on him. Dennis hated the weight room. He would come to the weight room, walk around, and just talk to people and act like he was doing something. He never lifted a weight in his life. Personality plus, super smart. I mean, he could tell me things. He'd watch films. Say, "Coach, you watch that guy?" I'm like, "No, what? Watch him." I'm like, "All right, run that film back." He'd tell me run the film back. He's like, I got him. He goes, I got it. I'm picking up on his tendency. Dennis played basically defensive guard or nose guard. He's down low. Right. He's about 5'11", weighed about 225. Looked like he already had a beer belly on him. The kids used to call him 5 Point. Because if he got down in the 4 point stance, his belly would touch the ground. So, back in the 90s, kids were still wearing those half-cut shirts. So on Friday nights, you see all their bellies hanging out, right? And
he looked like a dad at a cookout.
yeah, he probably still walks around with a half-cut shirt. Dennis would play football with a dip in his mouth.
Oh, my.
And back then, nobody said it. We tell him to put it out during the game, but or during practice. But as soon as practice was over, it was right back in there. Nobody said a word back then. It was just not that big a deal.
Right.
In Kentucky, now we didn't let them smoke cigarettes. Nobody did smoke cigarettes back much, except for when I started teaching, we had a smoking area. The kids could go out and smoke, but not the athletes.
That's so wild.
Man.
Oh yeah, we had smoking areas till the 90s, late 90s.
Jeez.
So Dennis hated the weight room. Big man on Friday nights. You watch him on film. He wasn't that fast. He ran about a 5.2 40. He was quick.
Yeah.
And he was really good with his hands and leverage. And he'd make tackles sideline to sideline. Where'd that come from? Here comes old Dennis rolling down the side. He was
Getting it.
Perfect pursuit angle. Boom. He'd stand up a center, jack him up, read real quick, take off. All of a sudden, you see this person, the kid's getting a 1 yard tackle for a 1 yard loss, and then up pops Dennis. Like, where did he come from? He's making tackles that the linebacker should be making.
Yeah.
He's a good football player. He understood the game and how to be in the right spots.
God,
and he could read what was going to happen. Uncanny. I used to laugh at him. He led us in tackles. But he was like, I'm 26 or 7, and I felt like he was about my age. It was like talking to a friend. He's a cool guy, a cool kid. I liked him.
Man.
There's some of them like that you just enjoy coaching.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I always joke. I said, I always want kids that when you put them in a game, I tell my principals this.
Mm-hmm.
When I put you in a game, I want something to happen.
Yep.
You got some kids, you put them in a game, like a basketball game. They may get a technical, get thrown out of the game, or they're going to hit 3 threes in a row.
Yeah.
But something going to happen.
Something.
And
You got to change the scope of the game when you in.
Do your thing.
I like kids like that.
Yeah.
Like kids with courage and energy.
Yep.
Play hard, and if they got some sense and they're paying attention, they're going to make some good stuff happen. Usually.
Oh yeah. So I know you got a busy schedule, so I just got a few more questions because I'm a curious guy. So to anyone that is like maybe considering, because there's some educators that I recently found out like we got a pretty solid following. So if there's anyone that admin or like even in the classroom, they're looking at like leadership, what advice would you give that person?
Well, we started our leadership development program here, so a lot of these folks and some of your teachers here are in it. Mm-hmm. Actually, I got interviewed this morning by a couple of them, and that's part of their homework because they have to go interview district office people. The one thing I say to people a lot is, first of all, you got to develop your thing. What's your one thing that you really believe in?
Yeah.
We can help you develop that, but it's got to be more than something just cliche. And then tell a story about it. Like, what's it really mean when you say, it's not, a lot of people say a lot of things that they read in books or that's the catchphrases in education.
It sounds good. Mm-hmm.
I believe all kids can learn. Well, yeah, that's true, right? But it doesn't come with it doesn't mean a whole lot to a lot of people. Yeah. You got to have more than that. You got to have some juice, like when you say things. So when I say a place for every kid, I tell stories about it. Yeah. What does that really mean for a kid? And so develop your thing. Second is you blossom where you're planted. You ever heard that one?
Yeah, I have.
Whatever job you have, be the best at it.
Right.
I saw this one guy one time. I was assistant principal. He was a district resource teacher. They would come around to school, and he was a former football coach. I knew him. And he was always, every time he come to school, it got to be where we would run from him because he would say, he was always wanting to talk about district politics. Yeah. Well, I heard that so-and-so is getting that job and this person getting that job. What do you think I need to do? Who do I need to talk to? He was always politicking to get an assistant principal job. Yeah. And one day I saw him come, and he started that stuff, and I was irritated. I said, Chris, he's a district resource teacher. He's supposed to be like an instructional specialist, right? Come around and work with our teachers. Yeah. He didn't work at our building, but he was assigned to our building like a day a week or something. And I said, Chris, why don't you be a good resource teacher? And quit worrying about getting jobs, right? Mm-hmm. Be a good resource teacher. That'll get you a job. Yeah. People will take notice. And the next, he got mad at me, and he walked away. About a week later, he comes in. Here he goes. I just said nothing. I'm standing in the hallway by the cafeteria during lunch, and I'm going, here he comes. I'm like, all right, here we go. He goes, hey, Brian, I want to know if I'm going to do the 4-column method. It was like a technique to answer open response questions on the state test. Mm-hmm. I'm going to demonstrate the 4-column method in Miss Whitney something's class, 5th period. You want to come see me? I go, yeah, I'll come see you. So I sat in the back of the classroom while he did this whole lesson. He was trying to prove to me that he could
do it.
He could do the work.
You kind of like freshman English teachered him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you be a good resource? So my point is, be good at what you're doing right at the moment.
Yeah.
I went to some of the toughest schools in Louisville and worked and never backed up, and I didn't make excuses, right? I had the jobs sometimes people didn't want, but I took them and I made them better, and I didn't complain about it. And so that people respected that. So, you know, wherever you are, you blossom. And because you're going to get dealt cards sometimes that you don't like. You might be asked to teach classes next year you don't like or don't care for. It's not your first choice. So what? Right. You're going to pout around, or you're going to go in there and do your best you can do?
Yeah,
you got to do the best.
Right. So that's when people do that to me, I kind of don't pout.
Yeah.
You got a job, you get paid to do a job. Let's do it.
Right?
Yep. And the last piece of advice is work 1 hour a day longer than all of your peers. If you work 1 hour a day, I just did the math this morning for somebody else, but let's just say 48 weeks a year, not 52, because you get some time off in any job, whatever you have. You can be assistant principal, wanting to be a principal.
Yeah.
If you're the first person out of the building every day when the buses roll and the kids are gone, and you're never around, you're not going to get promoted. If you're a teacher saying, I want to be an assistant principal, but you're always, you know, you're in your car before the kids are on the bus, it ain't gonna fly, right?
No.
So the people, first of all, people pay attention to that. Second, if you work 1 hour a day for 48 weeks times, right? So 1 hour a day is 5 hours a week times 48 weeks. Divide that by 8. You know how many days of work that is? 30 extra days of work you got.
A whole month.
Well, it's more than a month. You usually only work about 20 days in a month, right?
True.
So if you work 1 hour a day longer than your peer group, you will have worked 30 days extra in that one calendar year. And even if you're not working, but you're just around, you're in school, you're doing stuff, you're grading papers, you know, everybody else has gone by 4, you're still around at 5. Stuff happens late in the day at a school. You got that conversation with the principal.
Yep.
Your AP sees you around, they want to chat about this. All of a sudden, hey, do you want to be on a committee to do such and such? Volunteer for that stuff. And that's how you get, that's how, in my opinion, and that's not playing the game, it's just being committed to your school.
Yep.
I coached football and wrestling, and then guess what I did in the springtime when wrestling was over? Well, we had weightlifting 3 days a week. So Tuesday and Thursday, we did not have weightlifting back then. My wife would say, why don't you come home and do what? Back there, our schools were done at 2:20 in the afternoon. We went to school early at 7:40. High schools went first. Middle schools went first with us, and then elementary went later. It's opposite of what it is here.
Yeah.
But I could have been home sitting on the couch at 3 o'clock and do what? Watch soap operas? Watch Guiding Light? I don't know. That's not me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I like school.
Yep.
Right? I'm going to be there till 5:30, 6 o'clock every night. I might walk out to a baseball game. I might go out to the track meet. I might sit in my room and get some stuff done. I might, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And if you're truly a school guy, you don't mind. You never look at your watch hardly.
No.
Other than make sure you're here on time every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you might get home when you get home, right?
Yep.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night.
You don't even realize it. You just keep going.
Well, that's what gets.
Yep.
Now you got to get the education, and you got to learn some things from your principal. Shadow.
Yep.
Like take classes and shadow the APs and see what they really do for a living. Get involved in our leadership class. You got to do some of that to learn, right? So that's advice I would give.
Okay. Cool. All right. So I got a few little fun questions for you. I call them the time machine questions. So I'm a bit of a nerd. So we're going to imagine that we get our little Doctor Who TARDIS, and you can go back in time or you can go forward in time, whatever. If you could spend a day with anyone, alive or past, who would it be and why?
Jeez. That is a tough one. And there's no stipulations on this, right?
Nope. It can be anyone.
You know, I'm a bit of a historian. I I think the foundations of this country are very interesting, how all that went down.
Yep.
I would love to, when the Declaration of Independence was signed and the work that Thomas Jefferson and some of those people, I've read some of those little snippets of books and articles. I found that to be the courage that it took to come to this country and not know anything. I'm talking about even the original explorers, all that stuff. I think that I don't have one particularly. Yeah. I've read some stuff about, the Jeffersonian era. Yep. And the things that were going on with when the White House moved to where it is now in Washington, D.C. versus Philadelphia. I always thought that was kind of an interesting story, and the deals that were made behind the scenes to get that done, the Federalists and all that stuff. Part of that's interesting. Then the courage, people like Abraham Lincoln that took on and failed many times but became president of the United States and then made some of the most important decisions ever and cost him, whatever. Yeah. And that kind of stuff. Then on to like industrialists like Henry Ford. Oh yeah. To build a car company and have that vision. There's an old Ford plant in Louisville it's a factory, but they've made it into office building now that Henry Ford designed back in 1920 something. And it's a spiraling factory where they start at the top floor and because they didn't have conveyor belts to pull the cars on an assembly line, they let gravity bring them down. In a spiral. You ever been in a parking garage? It's a spiral. Yep. You spiral your way up. You spiral your way down. That's the way the building's designed. And because I used to park in this building, they made a parking lot out of it for a while, and now they've made it into a different. It belongs to the University of Louisville, but the stuff that he did that was so innovative to build cars at a high level. I just think those kind of industrialists that built this country, as far as that kind of stuff. Okay. JFK with I've read some stuff about all his, conspiracy behind his killing and all that, and civil rights movement, and so that kind of stuff I think is kind of cool. I appreciate sports and I love all that, but I don't idolize sports people like that. Yeah. There's a lot of other people, that did, FDR during the Depression and during World War II. That kind of man, you talk about courage. Yes. And here I am in this county fighting my little battles I had to fight. That's nothing compared to what these guys lived through. Yeah. And so, other famous people like that have been true world leaders in many ways. Yeah. I can't name one probably.
So kind of like the collective moments.
Yeah.
I like that.
Courage and borrowing money and going in debt and building these things and becoming, you think rich people just wake up every day rich. No. Some of their their offspring do. Yeah. But man, there's a lot of self-made people out there that have, I've been a public employee my whole life. I've never owned a business. I don't even know what that's like. Yeah. To sweat a paycheck every 2 weeks or every month. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I really don't. And I know people that even the people that open businesses in this town and take risk and, finance everything they have or mortgage their houses to open their dream business. Yeah. I have not had to do that. Yeah. I'm always very careful, and to make sure that I have income and, meaning I have steady paychecks and insurance and all those things my whole life. Yeah. So I haven't had that kind of courage like they have, and I admire that.
Gotcha. All right. So next little time machine question for you. So if you can go back in the past and talk to a younger you at any impressionable age. First part of this, so would you tell them who you are? And then the second part, what knowledge are you dropping on a younger you or an impressionable you?
Wow. Yeah, I would tell them who I am. I have no regrets about the way I've lived my life or what I've done. I'm proud of what I've done. I think I've done a lot of good and helped a lot of people. Yeah. That's going to be the measure at the end of your life. Mm-hmm. How many people you touch, you know what I mean? Not how much money you make. Or I have helped a lot of people. I'm going back to when I was teaching and coaching, to when I was a principal and teachers worked for me, and I helped them get on with their careers and become leaders like you were talking about a minute ago. I still counsel with people in both of my previous school districts that call every now and then and want career advice or whatever. So then just in general, you think back all the people you've helped get jobs and help their situations get better, help kids get in schools and all that. So that part I'm proud about and would be glad to tell the younger me that. And you said what bit of wisdom?
Yeah, or what little knowledge bomb are you dropping on a younger, impressionable you?
I remember my dad told me this one time, and don't think you have to be a worker bee your whole life. You can be a innovator. That's back to admiring people like, true industrialists, or true leaders. I mean, leaders at the highest levels of on the world stage. I think I was raised a little bit to have a foot on the brake. You can do anything you want, but be careful, right?
Yeah.
Don't get yourself stretched out financially.
Yeah.
I would probably try to take those reins off of me and say, if I'd have had the opposite message, which is we are going to go for gold here, I think I would have had plenty of opportunity to be very successful because I work hard, and you'd be fairly intelligent and hopefully opportunistic. There's times I wish I would have seen what it would have been like to be in a business, running my own thing, because I've kind of been like in a very safe career for the most part in my 37 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just remember my dad always felt like he goes, our family's just always been worker bees, meaning we've always worked for somebody else.
Yeah.
And didn't have the courage to go out and do. So I wish sometimes, looking back, that I would have had other opportunities to step out and take risk. But even at a young age, man, I was focused on, I got to have a house. I've got a house payment. Now I got a baby. I can't quit teaching.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hemmed myself up pretty early. And it's true. It's true. But that's the way things were back then.
Yeah.
And I don't regret that at all.
Yeah.
We built a good life in that context.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's part of me every now and then I was like, man, I'd love to be a college football coach. I would be a college head football coach.
I was just about to ask you, like if you had to go into education, what would it have been?
Then I'm looking, a lot of these guys are bouncing around different jobs. My nephew is now a graduate assistant at Washington State University in football.
Jeez.
Well, he was at Western Kentucky. Now he's moved all the way to Spokane, Washington, or I think where it is, Washington State.
I think it is.
I think so.
There's that where Gonzaga is. I can't remember. But anyway, he moved all the way to the state of Washington recently. And he's 24, right? So he's bouncing. He's bouncing through life as wanting to be a college assistant football coach. I didn't do that, and because first of all, you don't make a lot of money. You don't get any stability.
It's uncertain.
It's very uncertain.
Yes.
And I didn't have the courage to do that. And looking back, if I'd have been in a different situation, I might have done such things.
Yeah.
And might have pursued that as a career, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it's that kind of mentality is when you ask me what nugget of wisdom I would drop, that would be it.
Okay.
Be bold. Don't be afraid to be bold.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do that, there's sacrifice with it. But
yes.
And I didn't have anybody really telling me that. You can go pursue whatever if you want.
Gotcha.
It was, why don't you be a school teacher, right? That's the message I got. Again, not a bad message at all.
Yeah.
And I parlayed it into what I'm doing.
You were
now.
very bold in that direction. Yeah. Once you decided to commit to it, you became very bold based on your story.
Right.
Yeah. Confident.
I decided if I was going to be in education, I was going to be the best I could be.
Go big. Yeah.
And pursue opportunities, not be afraid.
Yeah.
But even to be a superintendent, I didn't make that decision to pursue a superintendency until I could retire from Kentucky. So I knew I had that to fall back on.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I hedged my bet.
Yeah, you're taking.
and that's the smart way to do it.
Yeah.
But I could have been a superintendent 10 years before, but I would have given up my Kentucky retirement. A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
And then they wake up at my age, they don't have all that stuff in line.
Yeah.
So I've kind of played my cards close to the vest and safely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So and when I put this question on here, I hadn't heard the news of you retiring. So this question is going to be a little bit different. And by the way, congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you.
So
big honor.
So this question is going to sound a little bit different. You've finally reached your official retirement. What do you hope is said about your legacy? And you've kind of hinted about it a little bit, but when people say Dr. Brian Shumate, what legacy do you want to leave, and what do you hope people take from your service?
Well, first of all, I'm retiring from being a superintendent.
Yes.
And I'm probably going to continue to do something in and around the field of education because that's what I know, meaning I probably won't work for a public school district.
Yeah.
I could go teach at a university. I could work for a company doing business development. I could do consulting and do leadership coaching. Those are things that I like. Okay. I plan on staying busy. Yeah. And I'm still too young, and my wife doesn't want me at home anyway. So that's a true story. You can call her right now. Oh no, you're working. Don't think you're gonna sit.
She
right
got
now.
used to you not.
Yeah, because she doesn't want me, around in her business, which is fair enough. And I'm the same way. We live we live parallel and independently. Sometimes, we're still everything's good, but she helps with the grandkids up there. Yeah. Legacy, I could look at each of the jobs I've had and talk about that one. So Troup, I think we've improved systems. We've improved internal systems. Yeah. Finance, HR, instructional focus, building better pathways, better communication. Yeah. Being out in the community and trying to really promote Troup County, and because a lot of people like to try to drag us down. Yes. Right? They want to tell us how terrible everything is, and it's not that bad. Can it be better? Absolutely. Yeah. But I think I've made some systemic improvements. I think culturally, does it feel better than it did? I don't know. I think so. Meaning that people, the biggest compliment I get from people is you're very real. Right? Yes. You're a real guy. You're a real person. Yep. I do all the same stuff. I talk about life in real terms. Right? Yep. Raising my own kids, dealing with other kids. So those are all compliments. Yeah. But I like to think that I've left a little stamp here of hope and realization of people that you can do this work. You're sitting in a good place, and Troup County is on a trajectory of improvement. Yeah. And I want to call you up in a year and brag about your test. I want you to brag about the work you've done. Yeah. And hopefully I've helped build some confidence in people to do that. And at the end of my career, I like to say that people say I help people. Yeah. I really have. That's not just cliche. I take great pride in watching other people succeed, and maybe thinking I had a little bit to do with it. Yeah. There's kids that you interact with all the time. You never know. You guys are being watched every day. Every day. By every kid that you encounter. Yep. And whether you're on a ball field or in a classroom or in cafeteria duty or whatever it is you do. Yep. I have great, when I look at pictures in the newspaper of all these kids of ours that are doing great things, not that I even know them personally, but I do smile and go, you know what? This is the right work. Yeah. Mm-hmm. When I'm on my deathbed, what do you want to say about your life, right? You want to say, you did good by people, or did you rape society? Yeah. To get what you want? Yeah. Were you selfish or not? Yeah. And I don't think I really have been. I think I've given a lot, there's always personal motives. There's always ego. There's making more money, all those things. That's normal. And I want that that's normal human behavior. But at the end of my day, I would like to think that I've spent all these years in a profession that was meaningful. Yeah. And I don't have to apologize to people for what I did for a living. Mm. You know what I mean? Mm. Does that make sense? Yeah. I don't ever want to have to I can't look myself in the mirror. I used to go to church with guys and belong to a men's club, and they were good people. Yeah. And they were insurance people, and they were all kinds of things. Stockbrokers, bankers, a couple of them are doctors. Doctors, not so much, because they're a little bit like teachers. Yeah. But, at the men's club, they always wanted to do community service projects. And I'm like, I'm working in. Your job is community service. I'm working I'm way on the wrong side of the tracks, working with tough kids every day. Yep. I just happen to go to church and live on the other end of town where these people were all fairly professional and all that stuff. And they want to do Habitat for Humanity, and they want to, do all these projects. And I'm like, and I finally figured out their jobs that they had, they make good money, more money than I ever made. Yeah. But they weren't satisfied. Mm-hmm. The job did not fulfill them. They had to soothe their conscience. Something was missing. They had to go out and soothe their conscience on Saturdays by feeling like they did more than just collect paychecks and work in some industry that wasn't fulfilling. Mm. Does that make sense?
Wow. Yeah, it does.
And I remember going to Habitat for Humanity, where they build houses? Yep. And I'm on a ladder, and I'm listening to these guys, and they're all patting themselves on the back about doing all this great work, and they pray before and pray after, and I'm like, honestly, I was tired, man. I'm like, I work in this neighborhood every day. You guys come over here and act like you're heroes.
Yeah.
One day a month, you know.
Yeah.
It really was in a tough part of the city.
Yeah.
And these take these little rehab shotgun houses, and we were rehabbing this house and going to give it to this family, which was great.
Yeah.
Great cause. But they were just so happy proud of themselves for coming all the way over here and helping these people. And I'm like, come on, man.
Like,
I do this every day.
yeah. Come sit in
Yeah,
the schoolhouse with me, my
so
guy.
that's when I realized like the work I do is meaningful.
Yeah.
There must be people in the world that go home at night and they don't feel good about what they did all day, even though they're not bad people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just don't feel fulfilled by the work they do. And I think to have work that fulfills you, both financially, which it has, but also internally and emotionally and spiritually and all the things is important.
Heck yeah. That's hands down the deepest answer we've had. That's man. That's I keep a quote. Well, it's not even a quote. It's like an acronym on my desk, and it breaks down to why do you do what you do.
Right.
And as long as you know that why, like you always know exactly what's going on. That's
I heard a
perfect.
Mark Twain quote the other day. It said, "The two most important days of my life were the day I was born, and the day I knew why." All right.
Go ahead and write that one
Two
down.
most important days of my life
Yep.
were the day I was born, the day I figured out why.
Oh man.
So
That's what we call on the show just certified audio gold.
Right.
That's what that is. That's awesome.
So it's a little bit of that. you
Yeah.
know, And I think it takes time. There were probably plenty of days when I was young and teaching and assistant principal and fighting discipline and all that stuff that I didn't really know why I was doing this.
Yeah.
And you keep moving and you keep doing more and more and more. And then I think part of it comes with age,
Yeah.
maturity. You start to reflect back a lot more about your life and what you've done. And that'll happen to you all the older you get. It's like raising your own kids. You know, they raise you. Right? Somebody told me one time, so you don't raise your own kids, they raise you.
Wow.
They make you different, right? So
Never really thought of it that way.
it's true. Oh, having children, well, do you have children yet?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why we're lost right now.
When you do,
I'm sitting there. I'm that teacher that you think is rich.
if and when you do, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Because it changes, and then you start to become more reflective, and you know, a lot of the little stuff doesn't matter as much as it did when you're young.
Yeah.
That's part of growing older. You know, it's a normal process.
Yeah. All right. So, final question for you.
Okay.
And because
I know we've gone a long
I was
time.
about to say,
Is this the longest podcast you've ever had?
well, we've had.
I feel like
we're coming right up on it.
I'm about to break a record with
Yeah.
That's all right. That's all right. I can talk all day. If you want.
Look, I'm telling you. You know, I said it at the beginning. I'm humbled. I'm honored. I'm extremely grateful for you to take time because I know you're busy. So for you to take time out, and I do want to respect your time. But
right.
man, we're having this is just a really good conversation. So, let's just say, like, you're inducted into the Hall of Fame. Like, there's a Teacher Hall of Fame. What's your Hall of Fame speech? What message are you sending? Like, you get that one last hurrah to just, you know, give that this
Right
is what I
before the mic
stand
drop.
for, and you drop the mic. What's your Hall of Fame
Gosh,
speech?
That's hard. I've already done all that here. You know, I would thank the Wilbur McCoys of my life, the teachers and coaches that had influence on me. I've been very fortunate to have been around a lot of good leaders that have, in their own way, promoted me through my career. I didn't do all this on my own.
Yeah.
You know, and even coming here, I don't do all this on my own.
Yeah.
Right.
I stand on the shoulders of a lot of people
Yeah.
ahead of me. I'm talking about the previous superintendents, the board members that have served, and all the administrators, all the teachers that have worked here to get to where we are. You know, so reflecting back, you know, a Hall of Fame speech, so to speak, you know, is to really appreciate the people that have supported me along the way. And to hope at the end of the day, I feel like that I've helped a lot of people and that they've benefited from having known me and worked with me, for me, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, the work, first of all, kids, we were in the kid business, right?
Yes.
And kids life's different, but kids are still kids.
Yeah.
They still want the same things, in my opinion, and don't give up on that. Meaning, somebody's got to believe in them.
Yeah.
And lastly, if I can impart wisdom on people, people always say they ought to do something about that. You ever heard people say that? If this roof was leaking right now, you say they ought to do something about that. If there's a pothole out there you run into, you think they ought to fix that. Who's they? They's
You
right.
never know who they is.
Well, no, they's right here.
Yeah, it's us.
It's
If
us.
not me, then who? Right?
Yep.
If not you, then who?
Yep.
Who else is going to change that kid or help that kid than you?
Yep.
You're going to let somebody. You don't let the counselor do it. So if you have kids right now that are struggling in your own classroom. If not you, then who?
Yep.
So that's probably my biggest message because it's taking responsibility for your world
Yeah.
that you have control over, and you can do good or not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I told my own kids this years ago. I said, I got 3 rules. One is you be a good person,
Yeah.
right? Kind of, you said that like what you said a while ago.
Yep.
Be a good person first.
Yep.
2 is work hard. Be industrious. I hate lazy more than anything. You don't have to be the smartest person in the world, but work.
Yep.
Don't be idle. Stick your nose in there and work every day. So be a good person, work hard. And the last is, if you have an opportunity to help people, do so. Those aren't burdens, they're opportunities.
Say that one more time.
Audio gold. Listen closely,
Say that
everybody.
one more time.
Listen closely, everybody.
Be a good person, work hard. And if you have the opportunity to help people, when you have the opportunity to help people, it's not a burden, it's an opportunity, right? It's an opportunity to pay it forward. And if you live your life like that, a lot of good things are going to happen to you,
Yep. No doubt.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, those are little bits of, I would probably say that on my drop the mic speech.
Oh, yeah. I think when you say, help people, when
Yeah.
it's an opportunity, not a burden, that's when you just say,
That's it.
Kobe out. Well, Dr. Shumate, I'm going to say it again. It's been an honor. It's been a privilege. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit down with us. I'm going to go ahead and say you got an open invitation.
You good?
It's phenomenal. I've enjoyed it. I hope the listeners, I hope they got their pens and paper ready to go because you dropped some good knowledge. Coach Williams over here taking notes.
It's fun, and I've enjoyed what I do. And yeah, I'm coming down the stretch here because I need to get back to Louisville and be closer to my 87-year-old mother who lives alone.
Yeah.
And I got 3 grandkids that are growing up. That's all true stuff. And my wife and I need to get back closer to home.
Yeah.
Her parents are getting, aging a little bit, and all of our family is there.
Yeah.
So she's been on a run with me for 10 years.
Yeah.
We've been away from home, so to speak, for 10 years doing this stuff. Lived
Yeah.
in several houses, places, and tried to do good work in Oregon. I tried to do good work here, and I want to go home with my head up.
Yep.
And then still continue to work. But I've had a good run here, and I really do appreciate lots and lots of people that have been community members that have been great to me, board members, obviously all of our staff, kids. It's been fun to watch. I have kids in this district that have my cell phone, all right, that I know their parents, and they tell me when I should shut down school. You talking about who should be on the committee? This little kid that was my neighbor, he's got my cell phone number. He was like, Mr. Brian, you gonna cancel school tomorrow? I'll get a text from him during the day. That's what he calls me. So he'll text me. He was at Gardner Newman last year, and he was texting me during the school day.
Oh, man. That's where the cell phone policy came from? Leave me alone.
Go, man. He goes, I think you should cancel school early today. I'm like, all right, yeah.
Yeah.
So
no K.
Be on the lookout.
I like to have, it's fun. I love kids like that don't bother me a bit. I love it.
That's awesome.
So I still enjoy what I do, and I appreciate the opportunities that have been afforded to me here and in my career. I've been lucky as heck, but also opportunistic, but also had a lot of good people that have coached me and molded me. You guys pay attention to people, not just people like me, but all those around you. You're going to listen and learn, and if you're smart, when you drive home at night, you're assimilating all that, and it develops your own philosophy.
Yeah.
It's like back to football. It's like scouting an offense on watching film over there. As you do that, you're picking up things that are going to add to your offense.
Yeah.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep. It does.
And then you build your own offensive philosophy around all the things you watched all these years coaching against good coaches.
Yeah.
The same thing works in the classroom. You will pick up things if your eyes are wide open and you're watching, and then you come back and have the courage or the good sense to process it and analyze it in your own frame, right?
Yeah.
And it may add to your repertoire of skills as you become a leader. You don't know where you neither one of y'all know where you're going to be in 10 years.
No.
I hope you're leaders and doing something, in this business in whatever way, whatever you decide to do, and I'll be glad to help you if I can.
Well, shoot. Dr. Shumate.
Dr. Shumate, we really, really appreciate
Yes. Yes.
Thank you for the vulnerability.
Yes.
Being open, not being too big to come talk to us, man. We really appreciate it.
We really do. And
I enjoy it. I appreciate the opportunity, guys.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right,
hey,
take care.
And everybody, this is the end of the podcast. And just like the end of a PLC meeting, we want to see it in action in your classrooms and in your life. Meeting's over. Class dismissed.